session, I'll be going over action settings and hyperlinks and the differences between the two of them. What you see on my screen at first are the action settings. I've brought in the individual pictures, so these are the buttons, and I've just placed them over a yellow background so you could see them easier. Additionally, I've brought in clip art in the form of this house and the binoculars, and then there's also text as well, and then another button that's been created out of clip art. So an action setting gives you more flexibility. Ultimately, hyperlinks and action settings are links, and they are here in the insert ribbon under the grouping links. In the action setting, first off, you have to have whatever it is that you want to give action to selected. If I don't have it selected, you'll notice that it's grayed out. So I want to do my back button, and I want to tell my action to go ahead and open this dialog box. Let's move it over here. In the dialog box, I can tell it none, or I can basically say it's a hyperlink. Action settings are the same as hyperlinks. It just gives you different control. I can tell it to go to the previous slide, the next slide, the first slide. I can ask it to end the show, or I can ask it to go to do something else as a custom. I can additionally tell it to go to a specific slide, or just like a hyperlink, I can tell it to just go to a URL, which is a website address. I'm going to tell, because back to me means previous, I'm going to select previous and tell it OK. Same thing with next. I select the next, I click action, I hyperlink to the next slide. It's already picked it up as next slide, but the option would be there. There's their next slide. Tell it OK. And now for the house. Well, the house indicates to me home, which would mean the very first page. If somebody gets stuck at something and they need to go back to home, this is what that would be. I can go action, and the possibility is home is not your first slide. It's a possibility that home's a very specific slide for you. So you could either choose your first slide, or you could tell it to be custom. Choose a slide and pick one from your list. The link with the binoculars and the word web search would be the same for me. The binoculars indicate a search. I can click action and tell it to go to a website, and in this case you'll notice that I have typed in here google.com. If I want it to be to a different website, then I go in, I tell it URL, and it says what URL do you want it to go to. I can type in isu.edu, and that is what will open when I select the search button. So if you like google.com, maybe you like Bing, maybe there's a specific place that you want them to go. Now the next one is going to actually come in. I'm going to skip to exit, because exit would be under the action buttons as well. When I want to exit the PowerPoint, I really want to end the show, because when you're running the PowerPoint, you're running it and it looks like a web page. When you want it to be finished, you want to end the show. So again, to navigate here to hyperlink, end the show, and tell it OK. Now, web search in the words is the same thing as a hyperlink down here to any document, and I'll show you both. There's three things that you really need to know here. So in the web search, I'm going to select, notice there's two different things. When I click inside the box, the insertion point is there in front of web. It doesn't matter where that insertion point is, but if it's inside the box and it's flashing, that means you're going to be hyperlinking to something within the box. If you want it to be on the outside of the box, then you want to make sure that you get a solid line around the box. So notice inside gives me a dotted line, outside gives me a solid line. If I click action, hyperlink to a URL. I can change that URL to bing.com, and now my web search is to bing.com. Now here's the difference. This is just a text box. I went here to text box, I clicked, and I typed in. If I'm inside of my box on any piece, so maybe I'm inside the word search and I say I want to insert an action, I'm going to hyperlink to a URL because I've said this was a web search. When you do the URL, you must put in the HTTP, and I'm going to go ahead and type in bing.com here. But notice what will happen to this link. It underlines whatever I was in. So it will underline the search. Because I was only on the word search, it only underlined the word search. So I'm going to back that up. Now, if I wanted it to underline everything in there, I highlight it all, action, hyperlink to, a URL, and bing.com. Now notice when I say OK, it underlined the whole thing. Now let's say you don't want the whole thing underlined, and it does not matter what words are in there. Maybe I don't want it all underlined. So watch what will happen here. The difference between inside being dotted line, that's how I got this one, and outside being not. The not dotted line, I'll go action, hyperlink, URL, bing.com, OK. OK. And now notice I have a hyperlink, but I don't have it with an underline thing. So that's the difference in the hyperlinks. Also in the hyperlinks, I'm going to go ahead and do hyperlinks this time. And so notice here's action settings, here's hyperlinks. I'm going to do this to any document. And now I'm actually going to use this hyperlink to a document. So previously in action links and hyperlinks, I did these to outside websites. I'm going to select hyperlink, and this time I want to tell it to link it to an existing page, file, or web page. Now remember, in file management I suggested that you put your files in a file management system, and this is the one that I used. So you see the weekly assignments, the images, the group assignments. So I want this hyperlink to link to something that was in my weekly assignments. So here's a document on ethics. I'm going to go ahead and tell it, select that document, tell it OK. And now this hyperlink, and I can change the name of this even after I've linked that. Now this will open the ethics document. So what I've shown you in this lesson are action settings and hyperlinks, and the differences between getting the line and not getting the line.